$245 million, $165 guaranteed for Russell Wilson before he even takes a snap in Denver. That is what Adam Schefter let us know about an hour ago. We'll get to the details in a second. I have a thread that Tom Pelissero tweeted that I think is good context. As a former Seattle radio host and noted Russell Wilson hater, your initial reaction?
He has everything that he's ever wanted now. One of the big issues that he had when he was in Seattle is that the Seahawks did not want to give him an extension before he was due for an extension. I would say rightfully so, given what we've seen in the second half of the last couple of years. This is a guy who is very reliant on his feet and his ability to escape the pocket. He is a shorter guy. It helps to get outside the pocket so you can actually see downfield. And a guy who at times seemed to be more about trying to throw the football downfield as opposed to taking what's right in front of him. That got very frustrating to me. And in addition to that, the way that he used his agent to just annoy the hell out of the Seahawks and force his way out of town eventually.
In a very passive-aggressive way.
Exactly. And his agent did not do it passive-aggressively. His agent did it aggressively. But Russ never actually did it. He just had his boogeyman do it for him. And the Seahawks...
Well, remember what he said? I wouldn't leave, but if I did, it would be to one of these 4 teams.
Yes. And there was more. There was so much more than that. And look, to the Seahawks' credit, they never shot back. And they should have. I wanted them to. Pete Carroll's a really nice guy. He's not that kind of person. John Schneider, their GM, definitely has some issues with Russell Wilson's agent, Mark Rodgers. He kept silent, which I'll give him credit. Yeah, because I know how he feels about the entire situation. They moved on, and there's a part of me that thinks to myself, does Russ really think that he can carry the weight of the world on his shoulders the way that he does? Because, and I've joked about this before, but that Seahawks defense got him to one Super Bowl, and it was never a contest. They won 43-8 against the Denver Broncos, and the greatest offense that the NFL had ever seen statistically to that point, at least based off of what Peyton Manning did that year. The next year they get back against New England, and while the Seahawks defense collapsed down the stretch, it was Russell Wilson that threw the interception that sealed the game. So I joke about how he actually has zero.
Yeah, zero because they cancel out.
The defense won one Super Bowl for him, and he lost the other Super Bowl for him. So yeah,
that's how it works.
In which it doesn't, by the way. That's me just joking. He has everything he wants now.
Yeah.
He has that contract. He has that security. And I don't believe that he is going to live up to what he is getting paid. I just don't.
We don't even know how this team gels together yet.
Exactly.
And it does not always look on the field as it does on paper. Sean, what was your initial reaction when you saw these numbers?
I was surprised, and maybe I'm missing something, but that it's not fully guaranteed. Because wasn't that after the Deshaun Watson? I mean, we talked about the agent survey yesterday where everyone was like, it's awful, but great deal. It's going to set the market for quarterbacks going forward. And I just wonder what the, what the hesitancy or what I mean, obviously the Broncos didn't want to give him a fully guaranteed contract. Why not? And what are their kind of questions with it? Is it just because they've literally never seen him play for their team before?
I'm glad you brought this up because Tom Pelissero, I thought, who is really good with numbers, had an interesting tweet. He gives the contract numbers for Russell Wilson. It's basically a $33 million raise in 2022 from $24 million to $57 million. He gets $85 over 2 years. He then goes on to tweet in a series of kind of thread type format. Fair to say Wilson's cash flow is well short of Aaron Rodgers, which is $150.8 million over 3 years, and Deshaun Watson, $138 million. Kyler Murray got $106.15 million over 3 years, with little leverage entering a cheap year 4 on his rookie deal.
Rodgers has won 2 MVPs in a row, and in the situation with Deshaun Watson, it's the Browns. I think the whole NFL is probably looking at the Browns right now and saying, yeah, we're not going to copy him. We are not going to establish further precedent so that quarterbacks need to get paid all of their money. And that sucks for Lamar Jackson, but it's also the correct approach with Lamar Jackson. I like Lamar Jackson a lot. He's an MVP. He deserves the contract that Deshaun Watson got from that perspective. But would I, if I were the general manager of the Ravens, be willing to give it to him? No. In this situation, too, it's the same thing. You do need to have, I think, some escape clauses here just because of what Russell Wilson has looked like in the second half of the last couple of seasons. And there have been moments where Russell Wilson has been good. Do not get me wrong. I don't think Russell Wilson has been bad. I just think there have been moments where he does not look like the quarterback that in 2019 and in the first half of 2020 he was. And I would argue that in 2019 and in the first half of 2020 that he was the second best quarterback in the NFL.
Why do you think he was comfortable and his agent, Mark Rodgers, comfortable with getting less guaranteed money? Is it because he hasn't played? Is it because they're self-aware enough to know that he might not go to it? I mean, why do you think he's comfortable with less guaranteed cash?
Because they are going to do the exact same thing that they did before in Seattle when this contract gets a couple of years down the road. Russell Wilson and Mark Rodgers have been extremely tough negotiators, and you can go back to the first time that they had a contract extension talk where there was some of the same conversation. Hey, is Russell Wilson still going to be here in Seattle after the fact? This is what he does. This is what Mark Rodgers does. 3 years from now, they will be talking about a new contract already. And I think that that's maybe also another reality that NFL teams are going to have to deal with going forward. Do we think that Patrick Mahomes is going to stick to this long contract that looks great at first, but over time, when other quarterbacks are getting paid more than him, he's going to be like, yeah, I'm fine with this? I don't think so.
Okay, so let's talk about his age. He's going to be 34 when the Broncos season starts.
Well, you say like that, that's a bad thing.
Well, for a quarterback.
Hey.
I mean, so this ties him to Denver for the rest of his
6 months
career,
away.
no?
Yeah, well, probably, but he's claiming he's going to play 12 more years.
I don't buy it.
Yes, he wants to be Tom Brady. I've said this before. It's the photo shoots that he does in Florence with his celebrity wife, Ciara.
My goodies.
He is all about legacy, brand, himself. Nothing wrong with that if you're a quarterback, by the way. Who wouldn't be like that? I'm just saying this guy has, I think, some delusions that he hasn't quite realized with the last couple of seasons. He feels like the situation he was in Seattle was holding him back. And I'd argue that Seattle did exactly what he needs. He has the best deep ball accuracy in the league. And throwing to guys like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett downfield, which is an incredible 1-2 combination at wide receiver, it's been really good. But you need to have a running game that's respectable to set that up. And, when the Seahawks offense started looking a little bit better last year at the end of the year, it's no coincidence that Rashad Penny, their running back, like from, I think, week 13 through 18, led the NFL in rushing. And he feels, no, we need to throw more. Let Russ cook. Like he's trademarking that.
Russ cook.